tuned into Back to Beirut with your host, Hallucinations, as always, every week. And with me, I have a guest that I've honestly been trying to get on my show for a long time. So I'm stoked to have you here. A beat maker local to Boston. With us, we have Seneca B. What's up, girl?
Hey, how's it going?
It's awesome. I'm just so happy to have you. It's just awesome to have like just honestly some nice feminine energy. It feels like way more chill. Like I feel way less. I mean, not that I usually get nervous or anything, but it just feels like comfortable, you know? You don't have to like challenge that dynamic all the time. So it's honestly just really good to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so I just want you to start out by, well, okay, one, we brought our show in with like this really beautiful beat from you. That's a song by you called Haunted, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, what project is that from?
it's not from any specific project. I had made it. I made it in a trio of three different songs. So I did it with a Bill Evans album.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, so I did it off the Explorations album from like the 1960s.
S-
So I did that
Hmm.
and two others, but I released them all separately within like 6 months of each other.
When you say that you made it off of that album, are you saying that you basically like sampled from it?
Yeah, so I sampled like three different songs.
Hmm.
Yeah, I tried to do a little challenge where I sampled every single song, but it didn't really work out the full way.
I mean, that's still like incredible that you could do that and that you could challenge yourself like that. I mean, um, you really kind of dug through the crates, so to speak. And that's like I think what good beat makers do is they really listen, they really look, and the product is what we just heard. But before we really deep dive into your music, I just want our listeners and our viewers on YouTube Live to just get to know you a little bit. So, your artist name is Seneca B, but who are you really? How old are you? Where are you from?
So I'm from Boston originally. I grew up in JP and Rosendale, and I'm now 22 and I'm going to law school in California.
Oh my God, wow, you really have your shit together.
Kind
My
of
God.
sometimes.
Yeah, and 22 and like already going to law school. How is that?
Well, I'm going like straight through. I'm a momentum kind of person, so once I finish undergrad, I knew I had to either do it or I wasn't gonna go. So just went for it.
Yeah, what is your reason for wanting to go to law school? What's like your motivation?
So I'm not completely sure. I think it just worked. Like I
Hmm.
interned at a law firm when I was an undergrad, and it kind of just made sense. So I figured, why not do that? If I'm gonna do some type of graduate education, just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like just through social media that like you seem like see it seems like you care about causes. It seems like you care a lot about like social justice and like restoring equity in the world. Am I wrong with that? Like it seems like you had been involved in some like causes and projects of that kind of nature of, wanting to restore equity and things like that.
Yeah, no, I have been. Since I moved to California, I've been a little less involved in stuff because I live in like the suburbs now. But yeah, I definitely was before, still am now, but just a little separated because I moved.
Yeah, I feel you. And I mean, like when you're in law school, I mean, like the idea is that you're kind of like investing in yourself for a bit, and then you can come away with talent and skills and knowledge to like invest back into the community. But I imagine that like law school can get a little dry. So I mean, it seems like being an artist and beat maker, it's like an alter ego a little bit, right?
Yeah, kind of. I like do this on the side pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because law school can be a ton. Like the reading and try is an understatement.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like good to do something else. I think that's like not as straightforward.
Mm. So, what exactly is your central talent in music? Would you identify as a producer or do you identify with any sort of instrument?
Yeah, so I actually started playing drums when I was 11 or 10 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I started in the high school or the middle school band, and I got kicked out because I wasn't good enough.
What?
Yeah, so I bought or convinced my parents to buy me like a little baby drum kit, and I taught myself how to do it. So I started on that, and then I realized that I hated being in bands.
Mm,
So
mm.
I was like, don't want to be in a band. What can I do that's like the entire band but just me? And it was producing. So then I started when I was like 14.
Oh yeah. Did you still? We were talking earlier, and you said you work with FL Studios.
Yeah, I worked with Fruity Loops 9, and I still work with Fruity Loops 9.
Wow, all the years. What was that like? Like your first few projects? I mean,
They were terrible. Like I won't lie, they were pretty awful. They were using like the stock Fruity Loops plugins like FL Piano and the FL like something bass, and they were awful. But I learned.
When did you get into sampling?
I think I was in college. I think I was a freshman. I like actually figured out what it was because I'd never even heard of it. And then I heard someone do it, so I heard like the sampled beat, and then I heard the actual song, like the sample. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, if you can just do that, then like I can make great beats too. So then I started messing around with it.
Word, word. What advice do you have exactly for like developing beat makers, developing samplers, especially?
Well, I'd say like the sky's the limit. I guess advice is just like follow what sounds right. And
Hmm.
it's like don't use samples just because other people have used them, but like do the ones that you actually think fit the best. And then also too, it's like don't be scared to get creative. Like I personally don't think anything's off limits. So like if you hear some random classical song that like you think is great, sample it.
Yeah.
Or like if it's a new like electronic song, like you hear like a little piece that you like, go for it.
Yeah. Sky's the limit, and like if you really listen to like the most phenomenal hip hop beats, like the stuff they sample is just insane. It could be anything from like Vivaldi to like Bill Evans, and
Yeah.
it sounds good. It sounds good to like contemporary ears. Um, but I want to get back into your mix soon. I want to hear more of your music. And I want you to deep dive a little bit into anything we're about to hear.
Okay, yeah. So the first mix, which you had heard a little bit of, the first song actually, when it talking about like Sky's the Limit with sampling, that first entire song, that was one of the few that I made like by myself without sampling. Besides like the vocals, so none of that is sampled. And then what I got for the drums was like I had been messing around in my apartment one day, and I had like a pineapple soda because the restaurant next door sold it, and I was just like messing around with my keys on it, and they were making cool noises, so I started recording them. And then I ended up like loading it into my computer and chopping them. So basically, every single percussion besides the kick and the snare, and maybe a hi hat is like
Your
weird.
keys in a pineapple
Yeah, that I
soda
like
can.
recorded on my phone. Yeah,
That is actually really legit. The sky really is the limit, you guys.
yeah.
Seneca B's with us in the studio tonight, and you're tuning into Back to Beirut on InsightRadioApp.com and, of course, Insight Radio's YouTube Live. Thanks for listening and watching. And Seneca B, let's get back into your mix.
And you can still have fun every now and then. I'm not fucking sober. I get fucked up. Like, let's keep it real. I get super fucked up. Still, all the time. That will never stop. But I'm just in control of my life.
Pull up, get shot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up. Pull up, get shot, sit down, stand up, pass out. Pass out. Pass out. Pull up. Pass out. Forward. Pass out. Pass out.
Drink. Drink.
I'm like just like the next man. Like I mean, I dabble, but I don't.
Not making it better. 'Cause you're sitting here wishing for warmer weather. Good little boys don't fall in love, they just fall into play. But you're not those. You're unique, I suppose. But don't let that go, your ego.
That's what I've aspired to do my whole life. Personal instances in my life have gotten in the way, but I don't want that to be what I'm known for anymore.
life, I've been considered as the worst. Life, I've been considered as the worst. All my life, I've been considered as the worst. I wonder if I died, just into her eyes. My disrespect, for my life. For my life.
Jay said the Nas. Beef is when the working folks can't find jobs. So they tryna find niggas to rob. Tryna find bigger guns for them to finish the job. Beef is when the crack babies can't find moms, cause they in a pine box, a lot behind bars. Beef ain't the summer jam for Hot 97. Beef is the cocaine and AIDS epidemic. Beef don't come with a radio edit. Beef is when the judge is calling you defendant. Beef, it come with a long jail sentence, handed down to you in a few short minutes. not being here with me when a soldier ends his life with his own gun. Beef is trying to figure out what to tell his son. Beef is oil prices and geopolitics. Beef is Iraq, the West Bank, and Gaza Strip. Some beef is big and some beef is small, but y'all call beef is not beef at all. Beef is real life happening every day, every day, every day, every day.
What's good, everyone? You are still tuning in to Back to Beirut with Hallucinations, your host, and my guest, Seneca B, a beat maker from Boston. Again, it's really good to have you. I love the energy that you're bringing to us tonight, and just like your music, it just takes us away. What can I say?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's like what were we even like about to talk about? No, I'm sorry. I do have things to say. I'm just wondering, like, people try to capture your sound, of course, and does the term like jazz hop mean anything to you?
So, I guess it kind of does in a way. Usually, when I first started making it, it was all old school, and that's what I put it into. Jazz hop, I feel like, is kind of new coming up, and I guess it kind of does in a way, put it all together. Um, Sometimes too, I think it's like good as a overall genre to look at. Like it's kind of like how hip hop encompasses like all types of different ones,
Mm-hmm.
versus like usually where people I know distinguishes like between certain types, like you have like the boom bap old school style like of the 90s, and you have lo-fi, which is like different, a little bit different than what I make, and then there's like vaporwave and other types too. So I think it like does a good job of encompassing like all of it though.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking a little bit like during your mix, and you said like you felt like it was like problematic how like coming up with the name for this genre, like it kind of makes it mainstream.
Yeah, well, I think what happened, and it's kind of more of like a phenomenon and not really like the name itself, is that like the genre of instrumental, like especially beats, has been
Yeah.
commercialized in a way that's like super interesting when you watch like the trends of it. But it started with these YouTube channels that have the name. It was like chill hop, jazz hop. Then like the individual people that started their own channels too. There's like college music and other ones, and it like turns it into something that it's not necessarily that it's not, but they like change the way that everything's framed.
Yeah, I feel you. Not like, you know, ragging on those channels or everything. You guys do amazing stuff, and I listen to you, but maybe just realize that like this is the effect that you're having on like our music scene here. But I don't know, maybe we just shouldn't touch that with a 12-foot pole. But thank you for your insight on that. I loved how you were talking about how jazz hop draws from a lot of influences. And honestly, when I listen to your music, I hear a lot of influences. Like even just the sampling, like I think what was the third song in that mix? Gentle
Yeah, gentle threats.
Gentle Threats, like sampled from a lot of different places. Um like in the beginning you had like a sample from a classical music song, and then you just heard like old school hip hop as well. I'm wondering like what are some of your earliest influences?
So it's pretty funny. So I never listened to, well, I did listen to hip hop. I didn't listen to the type of music that I made. So I listened to, I think the first like hip hop I ever listened to was 50 Cent and The Game and like G Unit, because my brother listened to it and I was really little and I loved it. And what first got me into producing was like, oh, I heard that Dr. Dre was a producer. Like I could do that. So I was like more into the West Coast type deal. Because other than that, I listened to like heavy metal
Hmm.
and rock music. So I was in a very different.
Yeah,
I was
like
listening to a lot of
aesthetic
different.
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was listening to a bunch of different genres, and then this kind of just happened.
Hmm.
Like I think I just started listening to samples, and I think the first sample I ever used was like a King Cruel song,
Oh,
and I kind
okay.
of just wanted to see like what sounded right with it, and I liked it better, so I went for it.
That's honestly awesome, and honestly I myself see the connection because I also like would listen to that really hard music, but hip hop is also really hard in its own like more subtle way. I mean, I don't know. It can also be really hard in like the way metal's hard.
Yeah, no, it definitely can be. So it's like
Yeah.
it just depends on like what you're listening to
Yeah,
and what you're taking from it.
I know it's actually interesting because all the artists like Uzi and like XXX Temptation are actually kind of like trying to take that and like emulate it and be like a little bit more like a rock star.
Yeah, they're trying to pull it back. Although I'm not like the biggest fan of like that new
Yeah.
wave, but yeah, it's definitely trying to like merge the genres back again,
Yeah,
which isn't
absolutely.
necessarily bad.
Yeah. I also want to talk about how you were featured in Revolt magazine. And I saw that was like a huge success for you. You talked about like on on social media you talked about kind of being put in the same category as other producers and singers that you really admire and have listened to for a while. What was that like for you to have that feature?
So it was really cool. It was like very unexpected. So I just got a random email about it that I wasn't really, uh, like it wasn't something I'd asked for or like been pushing for. So like I didn't really see it coming, but it was definitely very cool. So I remember when I first started listening to like what lo-fi was, I heard Evie,
Yeah.
who I was like, oh wow, like she can do it, and she's doing like really really good stuff. And like her samples, I used to want to try and find them and try to use it like similar type style of music. And then like there's Sophie Myers, who's just a really cool person and who makes really good music. And it's I don't know, it's just very weird being put on the same list with them, but it was like a big moment.
Yeah, must have been a huge honor.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you're on par.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Although like it's kind of pigeonholing, and I understand as a female artist myself when it becomes all about being a female artist. And because the segment you were on was like women in lo-fi hip hop, and before the broadcast started we were chatting a little bit about how like when you get asked to do shows when it's framed as like a women's only show or like an all girl thing, how like that ultimately is a little bit patronizing. So I mean, I don't know, how do you feel when people say things like you're good for a female beat maker, or you're good for a female DJ, or female X, you're good for a female whatever, like
Yeah, whenever someone does that, it's very annoying. So I always hope that they don't. Like it does happen sometimes, but usually that's only online and it's like a troll. I haven't actually gotten that in real life, but you do get that weird. I think it's a decision kind of where you have to pick between if you're gonna do a show and it's all women, like do you highlight it or do you not? Like
yeah,
where the move is like, do you want to say like this is empowering, like I am a woman doing this, or do you want to say I'm just a person who does it and then have, like kind of normalize it in a
yeah,
way? So I don't necessarily think there's a right answer. You just have to pick sometimes. Like
yeah,
I had that happen once in an interview too, where it was a really long one and it was a really good interview, but we never talked about what it's like to be a woman doing hip hop. And afterwards, I realized I was like, I don't necessarily think that I wanted him to ask me that.
yeah,
Like I think he knew what he was doing, and like in a way, he kind of by not bringing it up, it made it not a like a central focus point. Like he kind of just featured me as like any other producer that he would cover.
yeah.
But it kind of depends on the context too.
I know. It's like it's always a conflict cuz like you want that to be acknowledged. It's like an important part of your identity, but at the same time like it's also just super patronizing when people are just like, "Oh my gosh, like you're one of the best female DJs I've ever heard." It's like, why is it like a distinct category? But that's just life. That's just like the struggle. It's not like we can separate that part of ourselves
Yeah.
anytime soon. Um, I think in a minute or two we should just get back into your music because it's dope. Um, you've gotten a lot of compliments during this whole broadcast, so but before we do, just fill us in on what we're about to hear.
So this is like my fun little goofy mix. This is like my dance stuff. Every once in a while, I kind of go on a house tip, and I
Yeah.
decide to just make like ridiculous house music and electronic music. So it's like, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of all over the place, and most of this is not really released or.
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yes.
like it's kind of. I actually usually just play this at shows. It's just for fun, like dance stuff. So it's not like my normal everything, but
Yes,
I kind of
this
enjoy
is
it.
why I love like the versatility of doing like internet radio. You can premiere something, but if you're introverted, you could just be listening in your room.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what your music's for anyway. But let's get back into it. Seneca
Awesome.
be everyone.
Young say all on his mouth like liquor. 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 Like liquor. Young say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Young say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Like liquor. Holding me tight. Young say all on his mouth like liquor. Like liquor. Like liquor.
I ain't for no fuck, nigga. You a real nigga, then fuck with. This one for the hood, nigga. Hipster bitches that shopping links. Dark skin, light skin, Asian and white women. Hype bitch, we know about you. Don't buy shoes unless they pop it. For the hoes, my nigga. That pussy poppin', that magic stick, that strong, my nigga. Then come match that shit with me. Give me it, my nigga. Then don't pass that shit to me. This one for my niggas. And bitches to buy that money. Gotta love, shots of bread, them bad hoes that Onyx. I don't fuck with no snitches, so don't tell me who tell it. This one for them colleges, them bad hoes that spill. Shout out to them freshmen on Instagram, straight flexing. Pop the mother, I'm sweating. Pop the mother, I'm sweating. Mama always told me, boy, count your blessings.
girls, let me know where they at. Skinny rich girls always asking where the yay at. Throw a house party like cool, where you stay at? Cool, where you stay at? Throw a house party like cool, where the yay at? Cool, where you stay at? Throw a house party like cool, where the yay at? Yeah, you know, love me 'cause my ego. Girls in the drugs, I would follow us where we go. Girls in the drugs, I would. 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 Follow us where we go. Girls in the drugs, girls in the drugs. Throw a house party like cool, where you stay at? Girls in the drugs, girls in the drugs. Girls in the drugs. Cool, where you stay at? Girls in the drugs. Girls in the drugs.
people, listeners, followers, viewers? You're tuning into Back to Beirut with Hallucinations and my guest, Seneca B. Um, your music is sick, girl. I don't even know what to say. Like, I've just been dancing in here. I love that set.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that was dope. That was like some really dancey stuff. And even just the way you like put your mixes together at the end, like I love it. As a as a beat maker and producer, there's so much we can all learn from you, I feel. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You know, I'm still learning too, so.
Yeah. Yeah, do you feel like you've gone through a really huge evolution?
Sometimes, and then sometimes I do dumb things, and I realize just how little I've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was doing so good. I actually, there's a few of these tracks I've made. I made it with Fruit Loops 9, and then it took me 6 years to realize that there was an automatic limiter on my master track the entire time that was making mine like extra loud and compressing the entire thing. It took me 6 years to realize that. And I was like, yeah, like I'm kind of an idiot sometimes.
I mean, like that's exactly the kind of mistake I would make. Like I feel like maybe you and I are similar in the fact that we like want to work with DAWs in a more like intuitive way, whereas like people like lazy over there are just like nerdy about all the really specific technical stuff and like would roll their eyes at you if you made a mistake like that, but like probably not because like he loves your shit. Shout out to Lazy over there.
Hey.
Yeah. um but I want to talk about a little bit about your revolution, Oh my God! Well, we could talk about your revolution too. I don't know your evolution, just as an artist, cause like everyone else I bring through here, you don't really like listening to your old stuff. When you go back to Rascal, let's say, um, you, I mean, you called that stuff terrible. Like, how come you don't like listening to it? What about it is just so like? Is it just cause it's just a younger version of you, a less experienced version of you?
Yeah, and I can just hear all the things wrong with it now that I would change. And yeah, also too, I think part of it is not necessarily that I hate it. Although there was a good phrase that a friend of mine used that was for visual art, but I think it translates, which is like art basically is just staring at something until you hate it.
Yeah.
And like I've listened to these songs so many times, like I can tell you every single thing about it.
Yeah.
Where sometimes I listen to it a lot and then I'll release a project and then I'll listen through it a ton and then I'm over it.
Yeah.
And then for me it's like it's pretty much gone and like I'll use it for sets and stuff, but I wouldn't like throw it on my usual rotation.
When you release something, do you always feel that high, that like wave of like no matter how it's received, like this just feels so good to me. Like I've released this, like it's out there in the world. Like no matter how it's received, does it always feel like a success when you've released something?
Yeah, definitely. It's like that weight's off your shoulders because then you don't have to worry about what if.
Yeah.
And like you kind of just like, all right, not my problem anymore. Like
Yeah, or go back to it and like edit it and think of all the levels and like having to go back and just like listen to the same loop over and over again. Did you start to gain more fans when you released Friends?
Yeah, I think after that, it had been like slowly increasing. I had like a strategy to go about on SoundCloud that worked really well in terms of networking and like meeting lots of people. So it probably picked up after that. I think I actually got my big break because of a YouTube channel, ironically enough.
Really?
Yeah, so one of the original YouTube channels, Steezy, had posted one of my songs, Flowers, onto his mix, and it was like one of his first mixes that got really, really popular, and so I got like a ton of people from it on there. And then the whole weird thing to me about the YouTube channels is that once he used my song, other channels started using that exact same song, so it kind of like it became like exponential growth in terms of it, mostly for just that song, but sometimes for followers. So it's like I got more fans generally, but it was really geared towards like one specific sound.
Yeah. Your most latest release, a full length project. It's not new because it came out a year ago, but Bloom is honestly amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. If there was any one of those projects that you'd want to have fans go back and listen to, would it be that one?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
That one's where I felt like actually more confident in what I was doing, where like I didn't just feel like us throwing things together.
Yeah, and I mean the collaborations were so successful. What was the key to some of those really successful collaborations?
So the actual whole album has 0 collaboration.
Seriously.
Which is it does on Adam's tracks, but the entire album is basically like mixing and matching songs that we did separately. That we put together, and we had songs we were gonna do that we had worked on together, but they ended up getting released beforehand through like a different channel. But I think what happened was that we talked a lot, and we were always sharing our music with each other, and then one day we realized like, wow, we all have like each of us have like 7 tracks sitting around, like why don't we just make a project? And it kind of just came together.
Yeah, some of your features are wonderful. Shout out to Victoria Rojas. What song was she featured on?
So she was on Snow, so that was actually not on that album.
Yeah. Not on that album, but I was just saying your features in general. Oh, could you quickly tell us the story of that song, by the way, because I thought it was good for Snow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was definitely like the worst day of my life. I had gotten snowed in, so there was a snowstorm coming. I had gone out with my friends the night before, made the rookie mistake of forgetting my debit card at the bar, and I didn't have any money with me, and I didn't have gas to go drive anywhere, and so the snowstorm picked up, and I was like, well, I can't do anything. I don't really have any food at the house, so I'm just going to sit in my room until I can make a song. And so that one I played on my guitar. So like I was like actually played it out and then made the entire track in one day. And then that was actually when I got my first not my first, but one of my acceptances for law schools.
Oh.
So I got it like right after I finished. So I was like, all right, this is a little pick me up.
Yeah, that is a really nice pick me up. Okay, we're about to get back into your last mix. Seneca B, this might be our last interview segment. So just quickly tell us where we can find you, and then we're gonna play a really rapid fire question game, get it all out, and then we're gonna play your music.
Okay, awesome. So you can find me on SoundCloud. You can find me on Spotify, on YouTube, on Bandcamp. It's all the same. It's all like Seneca B. So it's SENECA space B.
Word, guys. You know where to tune into Back to Beirut, InsightRadioApp.com, or Insight Radio's YouTube Live. You can find me everywhere at Hallucinations, 7ELUCINATIONS. On everywhere. And okay, let's get into some Would You Rather. All right, you just gotta pick because time is of the essence here, and we want to hear your stuff. So you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Would you rather have your hands always be sticky or always slippery? Like you can't hold on. Slippery. Okay. Would you rather live forever at the expense of someone you hate, or die to bring back someone you love?
Die to bring back someone I love.
Would you rather know what everyone's thinking at all times, or never be able to retain information?
Always know what they're thinking.
Always know what they're thinking. Would you rather never be able to give a compliment or never be able to complain?
Never be able to complain.
Easily acquire languages or play musical instruments?
Instruments.
Be stuck on the moon or stuck at the bottom of the ocean?
Bottom of the ocean.
Receive $10,000 worth of jewelry or $20,000 worth of electronics?
Electronics.
Never be able to listen to your favorite song again or watch your favorite movie?
Movie.
All right. Seneca B, everyone. Let's get into your last set. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Shit like this, nigga. And I ain't even said it or wrote it yet. I just feel it now.
I can feel the excitement like I can sense an indictment. Swear I hope that I'm wrong, but just in case I'm on my tip. Forever on some fly shit, however illogic. Spend a regular nigga monthly income on my outfit. See, I was front they house with rocks inside of my mouth. When jealous niggas that hate me had they feet up on the couch. And then we made it out, and now we standing here. Hope niggas don't think this type of shit gon' magically appear. And then we made it out. And now we standing here. Take heed and get paid. and scream our money in until your dying day. Say fuck the middleman, get on your grind to save. Or are you more the type to have your mind a slave? They telling me they believe and I got style for days. And when I do drop an album, they'll be proud to pay. Still out here on this mission and I'm miles away. Somehow I feel like recently I found my way. It ain't no feeling that could rival those. And you could pop a molly, you could sniff a pile of coke. You could make 100 million, fuck 1,000 hoes. But when it's all over, all that count is how the story's told. So write my name down, write my aim down. To do this my way and carve my own lane out. Shit changed, they say I don't act the same now. But it was either that or blow my fucking brains out. Blow my fucking brains out. Then we made it out. Was either that or blow my fucking brains out. We made it out. And now we standing here. But maybe in a different life. Maybe when we make it, we'll meet at the finish line. Maybe this is fate. Maybe God will send a sign. But more than likely, he'll say,
It's a hard knock life, then you pass away. They say sleep is the cousin of death. So my eyes wide open. So my eyes wide open. They say sleep is the cousin of death. So my eyes wide open. life, then you pass away, then you pass away, then you pass For her Grandmaster say it's a hard knock life, then you pass away. They say sleep is the cousin of death. So my eyes wide open. So my eyes wide open. They say sleep is the cousin of death. So my eyes wide open.
I don't even necessarily make the music I want to make, like, aesthetically at the end of the day, but it's the music that I, like, need to make when I'm making it, so that's, like, how it comes to itself.